Alrighty, we are walking down an old logging road. Drove out as far as I felt comfortable and walking the rest of the way. We're going to Etta's Arch. This is on the Guy Kid Road. It's not terribly far from the Peters Mountain pull-off. Little road's got a tremendous amount of history. It's about a mile long. If you were fortunate, you live down in the river bottom, no business area. Several hundred people lived there, but not so fortunate ones lived on these ridges and eked out a subsistence living. Just a difficult life up here. And Etta's Arch, there are several families lived up here. Etta's Arch is sort of a playground. We're gonna check it out and maybe walk on down to the cemetery. And this is Etta's Arch. It's a little teeny-tiny thing. Basically right beside the road. Children would play. This is sort of a playground, all the kids that were being raised on this ridge. Run across it, play underneath it, that type thing. But Etta's Arch, right off the Guy Kid Road. That road is not marked well at all, so you can plug it into your phone MapQuest, put in Stearns, Kentucky, and enter it and you'll get directions. We're going to walk on down the road a while and talk a little bit about the history. Arches and rock houses in Big South Fork had a long history. Early Native Americans found shelter under these 13,000 years ago. After they moved out, long hunters came in and used them for shelter. Then later on, as this area became settled, some were mined for various chemicals, sulfur, saltpeter. And when I was a really young fella, one other possible use was the moonshiners found it to be a place to get out of the weather and make their corn liquor. But there is one other interesting thing that you can find under some rock houses. Some call them hominy holes. And the reason for that is, and there's a creek nearby here with the same name. Talk a little bit about parched corn. Native Americans, long hunters, would take corn, it would be dried out, then they would roast it. Then they would take the roasted corn, grind it into a powder. That was parched corn. You could carry a few ounces with you while you were hunting, add water to it, and be able to survive. So when you're under these rock houses, there's certain things to look for. There's evidences of, say, the hominy holes. These would be conical shaped holes. They'd use a pestle. Pestle's usually made out of limestone, and grind the parched corn into the powder. And you can see traces of mining, moonshining, places for people to hang out. And as a child, I spent a lot of time exploring those around my home. Got some artifacts from years ago still. But the rock houses of Big South Fork were very versatile. As I said, the people lived on the ridge tops. They had a hard scrabble life. You look at the names of the creeks around here. Troublesome, difficulty, no business. I think they reflected the situation for the people here. It was not an extremely easy life. Mountain folks tend to use their own language. Difficulty Creek, they pronounced it difficulty. So if you're ever hiking in that area, you're hiking in Difficulty Creek. Good day to be walking along a road like this. Good and clear. You could get back here. Just make sure your vehicle has a little bit of clearance on it. I'm going to walk back to the Lindsey Kids Cemetery. Check it out. One video you definitely need to take time to watch. It's called The Smith Family, The History of Big South Fork on YouTube. Narrated by one of the park rangers here. Very, very good short video. Well, it looks like the full name of the cemetery is John Lindsey Kids Cemetery. You can go to the website on Big South Fork and download a list of all the cemeteries. About 58 exist, about half are private, and the other half are, well, they belong to the Park Service. When the land was bought to make the park, if the owners did not know that cemeteries existed, they became property of the park. 16 graves in this little site. Several in the middle are unmarked, in the back pretty much lost. The last one was in 1941. That is a interesting date. You can see some of the names of Cherry, Litton, Kidd, names that are part of the Park Service right now. But 41 was an interesting date. That's about the time of, well, right at World War II. When the men came back from fighting the war, many probably have never been more than a few miles from their homes, but now they've gone to France, Germany, Northern Africa, Pacific Ocean. they came back and they weren't too happy about living in this remote area anymore. So a lot of them saw that there was a big world outside and they decided to move on. So really the 1940s started the downturn of the communities here. No business, station count, and it slowly began to die out. There were still a few stragglers here in the 60s, but folks started to move out and knew there was a bigger world out there, I suppose. Another small rock house right underneath the road. There's so many of them. It's just about anywhere you find a ledge and walk the bluff line, you'll find a rock house. Small green area down at the bottom makes me wonder if that's remnants of an old field. One of the graves had a little message inscribed. It said, "Remember me." I thought, man, a bit of an oxymoron to be remembered in what's now old logging roads and what we call the backcountry. But I began to think about it. I got on the internet, went to the Big South Fork website, and there was a name of that person in the grave. And if you go to McCreary County and look up their list of grave sites, there it's listed. So this person, in reality, got their wish. They are remembered in a number of ways through various websites and various genealogical type writings. So some folks are truly lost. Tombstones, no engraving, no one knows who they are, but some folks are remembered. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little short walk. The Guy Kidd Road, Etta's Arch. Not much of an arch, but a playground for a lot of kids that had to live on this ridge. The Lindsey Kids Cemetery. And just gives you an idea of how hard scrabble a life these folks had. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you later.